Good late morning. Sometimes when we come on late, it's not because we were not diligent in being here, but I felt like today that we needed to just ignore that. This is God's rain cloud without raining on us. With all the stuff falling in my hair. But anyways, I felt like we really needed to mull over this because there were some questions I had, and I felt like I needed to understand it before we got started. I'm Pam,
I'm Derek.
and we are doing the 21 days of prayer through COVID-19. And we're using the curriculum or the study, The Way of Jesus, that our church came up with for a 21-day challenge in last summer of 2019. Um, we just kind of thought that we needed something to focus on, and was hoping that other people could find some peace and somewhere else to focus other than what's going on.
Yep.
Right? We also have a group, 21 Days of Prayer through COVID-19. If you'd like an invite, comment below. There's a virtual copy of this book in the group. And we're also doing in the evenings, through Easter, we're doing a short bonus video in the group in regards to the days, like yesterday being Good Friday. We actually didn't do much of a video on our own yesterday because our church did something that was just amazing, and so we shared that. We thought that it would be better served to just share that rather than just go on and babble on like we sometimes tend to do.
And she was late. I was resting because it's the true Sabbath, which is Saturday. And as you can see, it has paid off.
Right. So let's go back. Let's talk about this morning for just a minute. So he came in the kitchen and I said, we still need to do our video this morning. And he said, this afternoon. And I said, what? And he said, it's Sunday. I said, no, it's Saturday. So tell me again why you were resting.
Give me a minute and I'll figure it out.
No, actually he wasn't resting. You were not resting.
I was resting.
You were not resting. You were out here foraging for bamboo food.
Jesus picked grain in the wheat field.
Because he needed to.
Because he was hungry.
Okay.
That was breakfast.
Was it? So you're not going to have anything else. You're going to have your boiled bamboo for breakfast. It was good.
This is why Adam ate that fruit.
Oh, is it? All right then. So let's just get started, shall we? I have it bookmarked.
I love you.
I love you too. I have it bookmarked for you right there.
All right. I'm going to read it out of my real
yes.
Bible. What's the... Give me that. I forgot where we're at. Matthew 7 through 11. Woo. If you don't hear from me tomorrow, you can file charges on my behalf. Keep on asking, and you will receive whatever you ask for. Keep on seeking, and you will find. Keep on knocking, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. Everyone who seeks finds, and to everyone who knocks, the door will be open. Parents, if your children ask for a loaf of bread, you give them a stone instead. If they ask for a fish, you give them a snake. Of course not. So, if you sinful people know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly Father give good gifts to those who ask him? Matthew 7. I already said this.
I'll say it again.
I'm proactive.
Matthew 7 through 11. Listen, people are trying to follow along, and maybe they didn't hear it the first time.
I know. I was getting to it. All I'm saying. What prayers have you given up on? What good things have you yet to even ask for? And what's not happening in your world because you're not asking, seeking, and knocking?
So we had very good discussion this morning, and we like to discuss right before we go on to do this video live, because it is live. You know, obviously you've seen that sometimes we're just like, la, 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 what? You know, that's live. You're welcome. But So we had some really good discussion. One of the things that um, was brought to my mind when we were reading over this was something our pastor, Whitney George, had talked about. He did a sermon over, and I think it really connects to this. And it was Philippians 4:6-7. It says, "Be anxious for nothing," and that's great. You can end there, but there is a whole lot more to that.
Yeah.
Be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. I feel like that's really connected to this passage because it is saying, be anxious for nothing, but it doesn't stop there, but in prayer, within everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God.
Yeah.
I just felt like, because anytime you find something in the Bible that you question, or maybe you don't understand the full meaning of, you will find the answers. It will be explained the way you need to hear it somewhere else, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe through somebody else. And so it's really good. That's another reason why it's good to have community and to fellowship, is because you may not understand what you're reading. Like this morning, there was a lot of discussion about that, and sometimes I just have to work through it. But you may not understand what you're reading, but if you keep searching, you'll find it somewhere else, or you'll find it through someone else who understands it.
Yeah.
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 So I just wanted to bring that up.
Or sometimes just like you this morning, you weren't necessarily looking for me to answer your question. You were talking the question out.
Yeah.
In a way that you could understand your own question.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I don't know.
It will in a minute, because we're going to go over that a little bit. What prayers have you given up on? So we talked about that this morning too. Yeah. And honestly, these questions were a little bit more difficult for us to answer.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Okay, there are prayers that I've given up on, but the reason for giving up on them is because that's not what I needed. That wasn't actually what I needed. What I was asking for wasn't the real desire in my heart. It wasn't what my soul needed. Yeah. And I feel like even the ones that haven't been answered yet, I haven't necessarily given up on them. And I'm not going to lie, I'm frustrated sometimes that there's prayers that still haven't been answered, but I'm going to keep asking. I'm going to keep praying those prayers. But something I've learned as I've matured is that I also need to ask God that He show me what His will is in this, and that I'm going the path that He has set me on, and that He lights my steps as I go, so that I'm not asking Him to reveal all that's ever going to happen, but I am asking that He reveal the next step, the next place I need to go, and reveal what He's wanting for me. Yeah. Because what I'm wanting isn't necessarily always the right thing.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. I know it's hard to believe.
I believe it.
You better stop. Just saying. You better almost not believe it. Okay. Yeah. You have any answers to that one?
So yeah, mine's very similar. The things that I was praying for that I wasn't receiving, I thought, God revealed to me over years the things that I was asking for. Basically, the packaging that I thought I wanted was not the thing I really, in my heart, was desiring.
Right.
So there was something else inside the object that I thought I was asking for was not the heart of what I was asking for. And so over time, that kind of got unwrapped, and the essential nature of the thing that I wanted was completely packaged different than what I thought I wanted. And so now God is starting to reveal the nature of what I'm actually, my soul's desire, as opposed to my brain's idea of it.
So, because we were talking about our pastor
Willie George.
Willie George.
Yeah.
Um, we can't remember the complete details, so we're just kind of paraphrasing, and we're using it as an example, not necessarily as you can read this in history.
Right.
But I mean, you can find. I'm sure if you listen to enough sermons of his previous sermons, you'll hear the story. I've heard it. We've heard it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell a little about that.
So, when he was making the Gospel Bill show,
Which, by the way, you can see on Church on the Move now.
You can watch it now. So he had a way to rent video cameras and a place that they were filming, and they had it booked for a certain amount of episodes or whatever, and it was going to cost him a certain amount of money, which was a pretty large sum of money, and he'd been asking, or it was going to be really stressful the way they were going to be doing it, but God revealed to him, if you will just ask me, I will give you the studio across the street. And then he the way that he had it envisioned in his mind to accomplish this show was not the perfect way that God wanted this to happen. And because of his willingness to listen and obey God, God granted him the studio, and he bought cameras instead of renting them. So that's kind of the same basic.
Yeah.
Power.
So your desires, what he desired was to be able to create these shows. I want to say he was only able to do so many at a time, but he wanted to be able to do more, something along those lines. Okay, so he, like I said, we're using this as an example, not necessarily as you can read this in history. But so he was asking to be able to afford to rent this space.
Yeah.
What he really wanted was to be able to create his show and be able to get more out there with less burden, and to be able to do more.
Yeah. They were having to record like 10 or 20 episodes in a week.
Okay. That's what you're saying.
And now they had the time and space to do it with the quality
And God's answer was, this isn't really what you're wanting.
Yeah.
This is what you're asking. That's not really what you're wanting.
Yeah.
What you're really wanting is this. If you just ask me for this, I will give you this.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to say that every time I pray, if I'm praying the wrong thing, that God's going to say, no, that's not really what you want. I mean, I do believe that God reveals that at times, but at times he doesn't. And there's probably good reason for that. And, that's what we were discussing this morning, is that God's asking us to pray and to continue to pray, but if you're not getting your answer, just keep asking for that, because as time goes on, things are going to be revealed and that prayer is going to change.
Yeah.
So keep praying, keep focusing on that, what you're asking, but also remember to open yourself up and say, God, please reveal to me what your desire is, your will be done. And that's where we got deep into conversation this morning, because on day 11, in Matthew 6, 7 through 8, let me go back there so I can read it. Just in case somebody else has the same questions.
Yeah. let's knock it out.
Matthew 6, 7 through 8, it says, well, let me go back a little bit. It says, when you pray, don't babble on as the Gentiles do. They think their prayers are answered merely by repeating their words again and again. Not saying repeating their prayers, they're chanting over and over.
Yeah.
Right? Don't be like them, for your Father knows exactly what you need even before you ask him. So my question was, okay, so we're saying don't just sit there and chant over and over again. Don't be like them, for your Father knows exactly what you need before you ask him. If you take just that alone, it sounds like you've asked me, don't keep asking, because I already know. Right? So that's kind of where I got stuck, because then over here, it says, keep on asking and you will receive. Keep on seeking and you will find. Keep on knocking at the door and it will be open. So that's where our discussion came in. So it's not that God is saying, don't keep asking me. What he's saying is, the Gentiles were repeating, the pagans, were repeating their words over and over again as a chant, as a checkbox, saying, I'm doing this, now you do this.
Yeah.
Right? So he's saying, don't do that. God knows. God knows what you need. You need to keep asking. You need to keep focusing. Keep praying. We're going to work through this together. That's what that's saying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's also, because we talked about the story of, say, a child asking for a specific meal. So the child's hungry. The parent knows that the child's hungry, and the child's asked for a meal. But he's asked for, I use the spaghetti analogy. He's asked for spaghetti. And we have in the cabinet canned spaghetti. But we have already planned a gourmet. We didn't do this for our kids, for our daughter. We're not advocating hiring chefs to cater in. This is just a story. But the parents have already planned a gourmet dinner for this child, and if they satisfy with the spaghetti that's in the can, it's not going to satisfy to the extent what they have planned in the quality and the hospitality of what they want to give in goodness.
Right.
So they're not going to diminish that gift by giving this lesser thing to the child. They are going to feed him until that date the things he needs, and then reward his faith. Our dog almost fell off.
He fell asleep and almost fell off. You're okay, Bubby.
So over time, the kid keeps saying, I want spaghetti. And eventually, what he really wants, he doesn't even know is available to him. So he's rewarded for his persistence.
Because God knows the desires of our heart.
Yeah.
God also knows our deep desires that we don't even understand. So if I am praying, God, please let me get my house paid off so I don't have to work anymore. We talked about that. That's one of my prayers that, because I said, I don't know, is there a prayer that is there something that I'm desiring that I've just given up on? And, I said, the only thing I can think of that I desire that has still not come to fruition would be because I want our house paid off so that I don't have to work anymore and I can just do my art or whatever. I can just work from home. I'm asking those things, but we're still paying our house off and I'm still working, but maybe that's because God knows you can get your house paid off. You don't have to work anymore, but what you're really wanting is peace. You want to be able to use your life to minister to people. You want to be able to really work on your art. If I gave you what you wanted right now, what you're specifically asking, your house can be paid off, you don't have to work, but you won't necessarily have the money to do your artwork. You won't necessarily be in the right place to minister to people through your life because you won't be in a good place because I've given you what you want. I've given you, or what you're asking, I've given you, you no longer have to work and your house is paid off, but now you can't do these things because you're not in the right place. The desire of your heart is not going to be able to be answered right now, so I'm not answering your prayer. You keep asking, and we're going to work through this together. Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Makes sense.
So yeah, did we ask what the question?
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud. What's not happening in your world because you're not asking, seeking, and knocking?
I don't know.
You're very needy today, sorry.
I guess I said that if I knew what I should be asking for, I guess that I would be asking for it.
Yeah.
I say that, but then there's things I
It's
have
hard to say when you're not in the
forgotten
moment.
to pray about.
Yeah.
Over time.
And I couldn't think of anything specifically when we discussed this, but I do know from me personally, and I know there's a lot of people out there because I've seen it. Why? There are certain prayers that we don't pray because we're afraid they won't be answered. And what will that mean?
Yeah.
What will that mean to us? So at that point, can you, when you're in that situation, sit back and ask yourself, Why are you barking at the camera? She has something to say to you guys.
Yeah.
Can you sit back and ask yourself, if I'm not praying this prayer because I'm afraid it will not be answered, why am I afraid it will not be answered? So there's two answers to that question. One, because you really want this thing and you're afraid God won't answer it and you're afraid that will rock your faith. Or two, because you're afraid it won't be answered because you already don't have faith and you don't want to prove to somebody else that God didn't answer prayers. Okay, so now go back again to, are you seeking God? If you are consistently seeking God, even in the unanswered prayers, then you'll know that even though you can't understand it, there was a reason. So continue to ask, continue to pray. God will reveal to you what you really want.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah. We don't even know our own hearts sometimes. And
A lot of
sometimes
times.
our hearts will lie to us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are things we think we want, and our emotions want it, our brain wants it, and then when we get it, it's empty. It provided no lasting comfort or satisfaction. And
Right.
honestly, as I said with this before, our relationship with God, our relationship cannot be contingent on Him obeying
Right.
us. And that's what it's talking about when they're rambling on and on. They're saying, if I follow these rules and repeat this chant or this prayer over and over and over, the gods will obey me. And in that case, you make yourself your own god.
It's like casting a spell. I mean, if you ever seen, like in the movies, or maybe you've seen it in person, people doing a spell.
I've seen it in person.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
For a link to Derek's story, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So if you've seen it, they're saying the things over and over again, and that is kind of like they're winding the toy up to make the toy do what they want it to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they're in control. They're doing what they need to do to make what they want happen.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're if you look at it in human terms, just your relationship with a spouse, you don't stay married to the person just because they're doing what you want them to do. Hopefully.
Lucky you. Just saying. He has a tendency to say, "I do what I want." I'm like, "Yes, you do."
Whatever. I do what I want. So, yeah.
I think that's it.
I think that's it. That's all I got.
That's all you got.
You're welcome.
All right, so tomorrow. Oh, I say tomorrow. Well, tomorrow's a short one. Doesn't mean it's not going to be good, though. Matthew 7:12. Do to others whatever you would like them to do to you. This is the essence of all that is taught in the law and the prophets. Matthew 7:12. The questions.
My. That's good for you.
He is in
I don't have
so
that
much
problem.
trouble.
I don't have that problem.
And he's only saying this because you guys are here.
They're not here.
They can see us. You can see us right now.
They're there. I'm here.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. What does it say about Jesus that he could sum up the entire Hebrew scripture in one phrase? We're not answering that yet.
Good.
What would happen to our world if we all lived this way? Hey, don't eat that. Husbands, wives, parents. She is like
Excuse us.
husbands, wives, parents, friends, bosses, employees. Again, that is Matthew 7:12.
Did you add the wives part in there?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Look. Husbands, wives, parents, friends, bosses, employees.
If you don't download the book, you'll never know.
So there. All right. Come close to God, He'll come close to you. Let these words of Jesus lead you into a few moments of prayer. Write out your prayer. Again, guys, I really strongly suggest that you do these things because it's not about what we're saying. We are not experts in any way, shape, or form. I feel like you should always question. If you have a question, question it. So that's why it's really important that you actually go through these things, write out your own prayer. We're going to pray with you, but just remember that our situation may be different than yours, and that also if we're all praying for the same thing, where two or more come together.
Yeah.
So again, I say we're strongly suggesting that you do these things. So let this lead you in a few moments of prayer and write out your prayer. Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done through me. For you, O God, are my son and my shield. You give grace and glory. No good thing will you withhold from me and my family. I ask you for help with these things today. Lord, thank you so much that you've given us this book, that you've given us this time together, that you've given us time to stop and focus on you, Lord. Thank you that we can remember every day and be reminded by others when we don't remember on our own that we need to go the path that you have set before us, Lord. I thank you so much that you have given us a path and that you have not just set us out to be on our own, that you've given us a path and that you're willing to light that path if we just ask you, Lord. I thank you so much for giving us direction. I thank you for giving us grace, Lord, when we go off that path, and you give us a chance to come back onto it, Lord. Thank you so much for everything you do and every day. Thank you in Jesus' name, amen.
All right. Jesus is inviting you to follow him on mission, to know God, grow in freedom, discover purpose, and go and make a difference. What simple step can you take to activate the way of Jesus in your life today? All right. There you go. Okay. So tonight, it's good to have notes. So tonight we'll talk about Holy Week. We'll recap what we've already kind of gone over, and then we'll talk about what happened on Saturday on Holy Week. We don't know what our next study is going to be yet.
Right.
So if you have suggestions, we'll consider them. We may or may not do it. We'll pray about it.
Yeah.
That's not far away. We were already over.
We're at what, day 15, I think now?
Over halfway through 21. So
I will tell you though that when I first started this, I had in mind what I was going to study, and I've had this book. Like this whole time I've had this book, and I've looked at it several times. When I went, like the day in the middle of doing this, I could not find that book. Still haven't found that book.
Yeah.
So maybe if it shows up, I'll know what we'll be studying next. If it shows up, I know that's what we're studying next because it's nowhere to be found right now. I've looked.
Yeah. So yeah, and we may, I don't know, we may rename the group to 42 days.
Yeah, we'll rename the group just that way. Instead of making a new group, everybody that's in the group can just remain in the group.
Yeah, if you want to. I mean.
And we're actually, I would really love to hear from you guys. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from the people in the group.
Feedback.
What are you guys doing? What are you doing during this time? What kind of ministry are you doing? Is your ministry that you've made sure the people across the street have something for their kids to do because they don't have the money to keep their children occupied during this time? What is your ministry? I would love to hear what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if there's something that you would like to do in the group for our next study, let us know. Let's talk about it. It's not about us. It's about ministry, and ministry means planting seeds and allowing those seeds to grow.
Yeah.
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 All right, guys. That be it for the day. We'll see you this evening.
Finally. I just almost killed myself.
Don't fall. Bye, lovely people.
Bye. Hiya. Hello, all you wavers. There's several wavers. So we can't see the comments, like you can't see me right now because we got the camera facing the wrong way. You're welcome.